everybody, welcome to the Ivy Greenhouse. This tutorial today is all about a floral head circlet. Now I know flower crowns and flower circlets have been done, they've been very popular. They've been done a lot over the last, especially the last few years. But there's so much more than just little flower girl head circlets now. You've got brides using them as their statement piece instead of a bouquet. You've got, you know, really fun workshops together with your friends creating flower crowns together. So there's lots and lots of different techniques and ways to create them. But I wanted to show you my way today, and it's a little bit of a mixture of some really foundational techniques and me not shortcutting and me doing everything in the most probably technical of ways in some aspects. And then others, I'm going to show you just little ways that you can save some time, and especially considering certain material that can be used really well with these. Now, I've chosen some quite challenging material today, and the reason behind that is I wanted to show you a variety of different wiring techniques. And yes, I wire all of my circlets, which means I wire almost every stem that goes into my head circlets. And that's really the most technical, correct way of creating a circlet. And the reason why I do that is there's a couple of reasons. One is that it actually holds the flowers in place. You don't have to worry about broken heads off stems and things like that because they're wired. And the other element is that it allows you to manipulate the flower a little bit. So if you put your flowers in place, you can just tweak them forward so that they're facing frontal. They're not getting lost in behind something else. That gives you more control over the design. So I've got access to these gorgeous blue flowers today, and as you know, blue flowers are rare, so to be able to use the hyacinths and the delphinium together, I've got this gorgeous buddleia that smells amazing, some new pink wax that's just come through, gelatin wax, and a little bit of fairy status. So let's get started. So to create the base, I like my head circlets not completely all the way around. I like them more of a Alice band, where the ends are held with ribbon. So I use two 20 gauge wires, you can see there, and I tape those together. This allows you to create a really stable base for all of your flowers. So, sorry, I'll just twist it up a little bit. A stable base for all of your flowers, so that you've got really strong support and some resistance, because the wires that I'm using for these particular flowers is really fine. I'm using a 24. So, you know, just those on their own, it would be way too flimsy and wouldn't stay supported on your head. So I just tape these together. I'm using the Flora tape. And I'll talk to you quickly about the different wiring techniques I've used, but what I would suggest that you do is pop on over to my fine wiring tutorial. That was really in the early days of this, that'll be at the top of the library, and have a watch of that before you attempt a circlet or attempt this sort of style of circlet, because it's going to give you all the techniques in regards to fine wiring. I'll talk you through these, what I've done in a minute. Okay, so we're adding the ribbon to the end, and this is what's going to secure, tie together and hold it to your head. I like to use an organza. I love that, how soft it is, just enough to tie a bow. And I also like how, because it's quite see-through, it essentially disappears into the hair. It's not really part of the feature. You could use, you know, ribbons that are color coordinated, blue or pink or something like that if you wanted to, or that would, you know, match an outfit essentially. But I quite like the organza because it just sort of disappears into the hair. You can see it just disappears in my hand there. So I quite like how it does that. The other end. We'll tie this on. Now you will notice that I have not got my status wired. You might not notice yet, but I don't. And I find that with elements like the fairy status, sometimes baby's breath, just that really fine transitional material, you can actually just add that in without wiring because the stems are so fine and there's not really a reason for me to be able to manipulate that. I don't really need to move the face of the flower around too much. So again, it's just cutting down a little bit of time. Probably could get away with that with the gelatin wax as well, to be honest, but sometimes I like to be able to move, you know, the flower around to show that little flower face, whereas these, it doesn't really matter. So let's talk about the wiring while I'm there. Okay, so for the gelatin wax, I've just done a hairpin. Okay, so taken it over, squashed it, twisted it around, so that's a hairpin wiring. For the delphinium, the stems are really fine. You can see on the delphinium, as I said, I've chosen some of them the most tricky flowers you can to wire and create in a circlet, but what they're going to do is create a really petite, delicate circlet, which is, I think, really fine and gorgeous, beautiful for a younger girl, but also really lovely for a lady as well, because it's just really fine and delicate. So yeah, small stem. So I've done support wiring for that one, okay? Just taken the wire in through the base of the flower and then taped them up. Hairpin again for the buddleia, and central internal wiring for the hyacinths. So make a little hook out of the wire at the end, take it down through the center of the flower till the hook bites into that base, and then taping them. Okay, so a little bit time consuming, but you'll be, I think, really happy with the result. Now you will also notice that I'm not actually using any foliage in this one, and that's because I really want it to be quite transparent and not have a big heavy leaf behind the wire. I will be covering the wire. I've used, you know, the buddleia and the wax, and the misty will sort of be fluffy enough to hide any of the mechanics. And okay, let's get going. So glasses on. See what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm essentially laying those flowers, and for some of this material I'll use, you know, 2 at a time of the same element, and you're just taping those onto the support wire. And just break that off. Now, what I would suggest for these particular designs is that you create a pattern and stick to that pattern. So, you know, I'm not obviously going to put the delphinium right next to the hyacinths because there's this strong blue colour together, and I want to be able to split that, sort of contrast that blue throughout the design. So we've got the buddleia, the delphinium, and then let's put in, we'll place in our little bits of gelatin wax. Just put those two together so they're nice and close. That'll start to get away. And now let's bring in our hyacinths. So we might actually bring 2 of those in together as well. So they're really gorgeous, really delicate. And see how I can kind of manipulate those a little bit, move their little flowers up so they're not just sitting down here and flat and hiding. Tape right up close to the stem. I'll be able to lift those up in a minute. You can get different coloured tapes as well. So you can get a chocolate tape or a white. White works really well with someone with blonde hair. Obviously the chocolate with someone with brown hair. And can you see that I can just lift those up a little bit? Same with the delphinium. Now, also another thing that I want you to consider too is that you don't have your flowers too close together, because you'll have used all of that up in just a short space of time, or in a small length, if you know what I mean. Also keeping in mind that you don't want to have your flowers this far apart, because as the circlet bends around the head, that opens up and you'll have a gap. Okay, so just consider the first placements of each flower. Make sure that your spacing works really well, and then you can just continue that spacing all the way along. Okay, bring in our Misty. And you can see that I don't really need to manipulate that one as far as the movement goes, and it just tucks in around those. So that's my sequence. I'm going to repeat that all the way along to the end. You can sometimes build it up into the center area if you want, at the front of the head or at the top, if you're going to hold, make it more of an Alice band. You can actually build that up in the center a little bit if you want to, just so that it's fuller in that area. But I quite like them the same and quite like them evenly placed. So you can go all the way along, and then we're going to, I'm just going to keep busy here and do my little sequence, and I'll come back to you how to finish it off and how to actually tie it to the head. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so here we are, just at the end. You can see that this really hasn't used a whole lot of material. I've probably got enough here to make another little baby one. But once you get to the end here, you can see there that you've got, this ugly kind of taped end. We want to cover that, okay? So I'll just get in here and I'll just cut those wires down. I think I can probably add one more little bundle of wax just here, which is going to work really well to cover anyway. And then I'll just show you a little trick that I do, because you've still got, this little bit of tape. And so what we do here is take another flower the other way around, okay? Now I know that I've just got the delphinium here already, but because it's so fluffy and so wide, and it's the widest flower that I have here, we're going to use that again and take a couple of stems of maybe one either side and just come in here and tape. Now, if it's a problem taping here, which it might just be a little tricky, I'll just show you another little technique that you can do. Just see how I go. I mean, it'll be okay anyway because it's at the base of the head. You're not going to notice. Yeah, that's fine. But what you can also do, because they're on a wire, you can just go in and then just twist the wire up. Now, while we're on the subject of twisting, because this is something that I see a lot of people doing and a lot of people teaching in this way, and I just wanted to, not that it's wrong, but I just think it doesn't end up with a nice finish. So what's really important to me is the finish that I have on the back of the, just cut that one off too. Make sure you don't have any wires that are poking out and going to annoy someone, especially children. If it annoys their head, they'll pull it off in 2 seconds flat. So as you can see there, you can see how smooth and how fine, and there's nothing sharp, and it's not twisted. What you run the risk of if you don't tape is that people just twist the wire around, and then they get to here and they twist the wire around, and then here and here and here, and it just becomes this gnarly, horrible mess. So, you know, I'm just, you know, I was a formal teaching for a long, long time, and I can't help but show you the right and the correct way to be creating some of these designs. So, in my opinion, you shouldn't be twisting, and you need to have a really nice smooth finish, and then it sits really lovely and flat on the head. Okay, I'm happy with all of that. Looks gorgeous. And now, the grand reveal. And now you simply tie it on. So you can tie it forward and then to the back of the head. Or, and I might need some assistance with this one. Oh, I lost a flower. Let's just put an extra little one on there. So that's the other reason why it's great to have the wires as well. I was just a bit heavy-handed with that then. You can just take that little wire just around itself here. Just tucking that over there like that. Okay, or the other way that you can put it on your head is here. Take it around your ears. And then tie it in underneath your hair. Okay, so it's like more like an Alice band. I hope you've enjoyed my version of a really fine and dainty floral head circlet. I love all those smaller flowers. Yes, they take a little bit of time to wire up together, but honestly, once they've wired, putting it together is really quick and easy. And it's really secure. You know, taking the time to do that wiring allows those stems to be hydrated with the tape, so that will prevent wilting quite so quickly. And it also just allows you that manipulation to be able to place the flowers exactly where they're shown the best. So I look forward to you sharing your ideas and your thoughts on this in the comments box. You know, I love chatting to you in there. And I hope you'll give this design a go, or maybe just change the technique that you already have to take on something like this that's really petite and dainty for a change. Anyway, see you everyone.